Hey, 7th grade Panthers. Hey, this is Mrs. Weesey. I'm going to go over with you guys real quick just how to solve for x when you're doing supplementary angles so that it might help when you're working out on the problems on your worksheet. So this is just going to be a simple example. So we have supplementary angles. Remember, those are the two angles that when you add them together, they equal to 180. Right? So that's one thing we need to remember, that rule, right? So we know they're going to equal 180 degrees when you add them together. So let's say for angle 1 that we have, we'll say 5x plus 10. So angle 1 is 5x plus 10. And then for angle 2, let's say we've got, we'll go with 55. That should work out all right. So 55 degrees for angle 2. So now I need to look at what I have. I have angle 1 and angle 2, and I know that my supplementary angles, angle 1 plus angle 2, will have to equal 180 because the measure of a straight line is 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and set up our problem using those values that we know. So I have a 5x plus 10 for my angle 1. So that's that one. Then I still need to add my angle 2. That's my 55. Right? So that's my angle 2. And I know that it has to equal 180 degrees. So now we have a problem that we can solve. So the first thing I would do before I did my box method is I would combine these two whole numbers because I can add 10 plus 55. So when I add 10 plus 55, I would get 65. So now I just bring it down. So here's my actual problem that I can solve using my box method. So I have 5x plus 65 equals 180. My 80 right here. So now I can do some boxes. I know I'm going to do 3. And I know in my first box, I'm always going to start with the number that's by itself on one side of the equal sign. So we always start with that. So we'll start with our 180. Next step is we got to get rid of those kids. All right, so let's get rid of our kids. That's the one that does not have the x with it. So the reason I circled the entire thing is because it tells me this is a positive 65, which means I'm going to need to do the opposite. So I'm going to need to minus the 65. So if I take 180 plus a negative 65, they're not the same sign, so different signs subtract. So I would be subtracting. So I could come over here and take my 180, subtract the 65, and I can't take 5 away from 0, so I'm going to have to borrow. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 6 gives me 1. And then my 1 comes down, and I have 115. So my new value right here in the middle is going to be 115. So now I have that 115. So my next step is to look at what's with the x. So we know 5 times x is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication means I'm going to need to divide. So I would be dividing by 5. So let's go over here and let's take our 115 and let's divide it by 5. So when we're thinking about 5, how close can we get to 11 if we're multiplying by 5? So 5 times 2 is 10. So 5 times 2 gives me 10. So I got to take away the 10. That means I'll just, 1 minus 0 is still 1. 1 minus 1 gives me 0, so that's nothing. And then I got to bring down my 5. So now I have 15. So now we think about, well, what times 5 is going to give me 15? I can count by 5s. 5, 10, 15. So that means that's 3. Ah, I wrote the wrong number. What is wrong with me? All right. Let me go ahead and erase that so we can start over. All right. So 5 times 3. I said 3, but I wrote the number 5. So I get 23. So we can actually put the 23 over here. And now we solved it, right? So we know that x is equal to 23. And so that's how we solve for x, right? So remember, no matter what it gives you for angle 1 and angle 2, remember that if you add them together, they equal 180 if it's a supplementary angle. All right, so y'all have a great day. I will talk to you guys later.